Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rabbi.
I get into
Oh, very good. Very good. All right, we're learning Mishnah Yeshavis. Parak Chav Beis, chapter 22, Mishnah Hey. I dedicate this morning's mission memory of my mother, Mr. Shlomo Rabinowitz, Shlomo Spas Rav Yaakov Eliezer. Okay. Haroichetz Rei Ma'ara V'mei Tiberia. One who bathes, one who washes themselves in the water of a cave or in the waters of Tiberia, the hot springs of Tiberia. V'nistapek, and he dried himself off. Afilu be'eser aluntius, even if he used 10 towels. Lo yaviyim biyadai. He cannot bring them back in his hands. So assuming that you could, wherever you are washing yourself off, you want to go ahead and bring the towel home. So assuming you can do that because there's an Erev. Nonetheless, once you finish drying yourself off with the towel, you cannot bring them home. You cannot bring them home. Why is that? Because we're afraid that you may come to squeeze out the towel. And even if you use 10 towels, and therefore none of them can be that wet, nonetheless, the Chachamim said, the sages decreed, you cannot bring them home so that you don't come to squeeze them out. If you squeeze them out of liquid absorbed, that's the act of schita, and that is forbidden to do on Shabbos. Now, let's go back a little bit. So this person is bathing on Shabbos. And from the fact that the Mishnah says we're talking about bathing in Mei Tveria, which are hot springs, the water we're talking about is hot water.
It's hot.
Hot. It's hot water.
Really
Now, the Mei Ma'ara, this water of the cave, it really is a situation where even where you boiled up water before Shabbos, and in order to keep the water warm, you have this enclosed area that will keep it keep its temperature, keep it warm. Now, are you allowed to bathe in hot water on Shabbos? The answer is no. The answer is there was a rabbinic decree many years ago that one may not bathe in hot water on Shabbos because of the fact that in the days of the Mishnah, and not that long ago, people bathed in bathhouses. Okay. And the problem was that the people in charge of the bathhouse, they had to heat it up. Now they were supposed to heat it up before Shabbos. The problem was that they started realizing that they're heating up the water on Shabbos and saying, oh, we heated it up before Shabbos. Because of that, the Chachamim decreed no bathing in hot water on Shabbos. Originally, that decree extended to even the waters of a hot spring. I mean, no one's going to heat up the water in the hot spring. It's hot already. Nonetheless, originally, they extended the decree to that. And then afterwards, they actually took that part back. They bring down over here, however, when they saw that it was difficult for people to completely refrain from bathing in hot water on Shabbos, with some kind of a big issue, that some kind of an issue then, they permitted bathing in a hot spring. It was important for some reason then to allow people to bathe in hot water, and therefore in a hot spring, they allowed you to do that. Now, so our Mishnah talks about bathing in the hot water of the cave, which really means it's regular hot water that was warmed up even before Shabbos. You're putting it in the cave, and that's where you're bathing. You allowed to do that? No. And that's why the Mishnah says the word haroichetz, one who bathes. That is an expression that's used after the fact. It's not saying you could do it. It's talking about after the fact. Now, in the case of bathing in the Mei Tveria, in the spring water, that's l'chatchila. That's fine. But the Mishnah, for some reason, in its introduction to talking about drying yourself, which is the main point of the Mishnah, and it talks about bathing yourself, decided to talk about cases or kind of, remind yourselves or even allude to this halacha that, you've got bathing that is permissible and bathing that's not permissible. The Mei Ma'ara, the hot water that you put in the cave, that was not permissible, but you did it. And now the question is about drying yourself. Or you went ahead and bathed in the hot springs, and that was 100% fine. But the point, it was the Mishnah trying to bring all these ideas I'm mentioning to you out in this indirect way. I'm not sure exactly, but that is how the commentaries explain this was first part of the Mishnah. The Mei Ma'ara, really, you weren't supposed to. The Mei Tveria, you were okay. But the main discussion really is the next part, which is the fact you dried yourself off with the towels. And we say that you cannot bring those towels home, meaning we want you handling the towels after you dry yourself so that you don't come to squeeze them out. Now, how about the whole idea of drying yourself off? Maybe if we're concerned that you're going to squeeze out the towel, maybe you shouldn't be allowed to use the towel at all. Drip dry. The answer is that here too, the Chachamim realized that if it was important for people to have the chance to bathe in hot water on Shabbos, then we have to let them dry themselves off, because if they can't dry themselves off, it's a good chance they're not going to bother bathing. And therefore, they allowed, again, this whole problem about using the towel is a rabbinic decree, and they allowed you to go ahead and use it to dry yourself off, but after that, you cannot use it. You cannot even handle it anymore, because in effect, you may come to squeeze it out. And the Mishnah continues, but 10 people could dry themselves off at one towel. Their hands, their face, and their feet. Because probably if there are a lot of people using the towel, they didn't wash their entire bodies, they just washed part of it. And then they can bring it home in their hands. They can bring it home. Again, assuming there's an Erev, there's no problem carrying, they can bring it home. Why? Because we say that when there's more than one person involved, if somebody decides to go squeezing it, someone's going to say, Shabbos.
Guilty.
Can't do that. And therefore, if the person's alone and we're afraid he's going to forget and do it, so we don't allow him to bring the towel home. But once he's accompanied by someone, the Mishnah says 10 people. It doesn't have to be 10 people. It could be one other person. Once he's accompanied by somebody else, you can have somebody carry it home as long as the other person is carrying it, is coming along with him. So that in case he does forget and starts bringing it out, the person will remind him. And the reason why the Mishnah used the case of 10 people is because that towel is probably going to be quite wet. Nonetheless, we're not going to be concerned about squeezing it out, because in effect, since you're not there alone, someone will remind you to make sure you don't do it. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
All right.
Do you have similar